Hey everyone. So let's just say hypothetically earlier this year you decided you were going to be nice this year instead of being naughty like you usually are. And in fact, you were nice enough that you actually made it on Santa's nice list and he's going to be making a trip to your house on Christmas Eve. Well, I suggest you leave out some cookies for him if that's the case. More specifically, chocolate chip cookies. And sure, a few of them got a little smudged together during baking, but you know what? Do you really think Santa's fat ass is going to care about that shit? Hell no, he's not, so let's bake these things.
Okay, let's get started by taking a look at the ingredients. First, we have 10 ounces of flour, followed up by 8 ounces of butter, 5 ounces each brown and white sugar, 2 large eggs, 12 ounces semi-sweet chocolate chips, and 1 teaspoon each vanilla extract, baking soda, and kosher salt. Once you've gathered all that, we can move on to the mixing portion of the recipe. Using the paddle attachment of our stand mixer, we're going to start by adding the butter and mixing on low speed to begin the incorporation of air cells. The butter I am using is slightly on the cold side. Ideally, the butter should be around 70 degrees. Colder butter requires a longer mixing time, and warmer butter will not be able to hold the proper amount of air cells. After the butter becomes slightly pliable, we can go ahead and add the sugar. And rather than just starting the machine up, I'm going to pulse it a few times because it is less likely to fling shit all over the place and make a mess. After a few pulses, we can gradually work our way up from low speed to medium speed. Mixing at higher speeds is not ideal because the friction can reduce the production of air cells or rupture them altogether, so it is important to maintain a medium speed. After a minute or so of mixing, pull the attachment off and scrape down the sides of the bowl by hand. We can go ahead and add the salt and baking soda now, as they will not interfere with air cell production and are more likely to become incorporated if added now. Go ahead and start the machine back up, and it's important to note that as opposed to cakes, the butter should not be fully creamed together when preparing cookies, as doing this can cause the cookies to spread too much. After completing the creaming process, go ahead and add half the egg mixture, or the equivalent of 1 egg. The gradual addition of eggs allows them to emulsify properly into the fat and sugar mixture. After a minute or so of mixing, go ahead and scrape the bowl down by hand again. It is vital to repeat this multiple times throughout the mixing process to ensure proper incorporation of all ingredients. Once the first egg has become fully incorporated, we can go ahead and add the second egg, and repeat the same process of mixing and scraping the sides of the bowl until that one becomes fully incorporated. The vanilla extract can be added at any point during the incorporation of eggs. I will go ahead and add it now, and resume mixing. Once the eggs have become fully incorporated, we can go ahead and add our chocolate chips. Most recipes call for the chips to be added after incorporating the flour. However, adding them before makes it easier to control gluten development. With cookies, minimal gluten development is more desirable. After the chips have become incorporated, go ahead and scrape down the bowl again. It's beginning to sound like a broken record, but the importance of this cannot be stressed enough. The final step will be adding and incorporating the flour. And because only minimal gluten development is required, we will be mixing very briefly or only until the flour is just incorporated. And again, as I did with the sugar earlier, I will start the mixing by hand to ensure that I don't fling shit all over the place. And there you have it. That is all the mixing that is necessary. Mixing beyond this point runs the risk of developing too much gluten. Go ahead and grab a spatula to clean off the attachment, and make sure you follow that rule that no one follows about not eating raw cookie dough. I may or may not have followed that rule here. And now we're ready to pan up our cookies. A portion scoop is ideal here, but I don't have one, so I'm going to weigh them out. I weighed them out at about 1.25 ounces each. And now they're ready to go into the oven. Place them one pan at a time in a 375-degree oven. Place the second pan in the refrigerator while the first one is being baked. And while we wait for that, let's go ahead and go over some cool history about cookies. After 10 minutes of baking, the first batch is complete, and we can go ahead and add the second batch into the oven. And while placing this batch into the oven, you might notice that oven thermometer I have sitting over there. The reason for that is I had noticed the first batch did not brown properly and they had spread too much. You can see with the second batch, they browned more properly and they did not spread as much and were shaped correctly. The leavening agents require higher temperatures to activate, which in turn offsets the melting of the butter, which causes spreading. So you can see with the first batch of cookies, they baked at a lower temperature than what I had the oven set at. So now to go through the process of calibrating your oven. Grab your oven thermometer, set your oven temperature to wherever, place it in the center of the oven, give everything time to rise up to temperature, come back and check it, and everything should match up. The oven says 350 on top, and the thermometer within should also say 350. Let's go ahead and focus and zoom in on it and see what it says. It's a good idea to check this from time to time and follow your manufacturer's instructions for fixing any discrepancies. And you can see up close here the difference between the two cookies. The one on the right has a better rise and it browned better and is ultimately a better cookie. And that's the end of the video. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.